Hazelou, we got a bishop on deck.
See what I'm saying?
Hazelou, we got a bishop on deck. Hazelou, we got a bishop on deck.
Hazelou, see my bishop on deck. All the rising feet, show respect. All these damn doors getting checked. Hey, see what I'm saying? Hey, shout him out.
Tuesday,
Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Shout him out.
Tuesday,
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play.
Hazelou, we got
Hey.
the bishop on deck. Hazelou, we got the bishop on deck.
See what I'm saying?
Hazelou, we got the bishop on deck.
Shalom, brothers. Shalom, sisters. Bishop Nathaniel here. You know what day it is. That's right. It is Shout Out Tuesday. It's Shout Out Tuesday. And you know how I love to read your letters of exhortation and your donations of support. But before I do that, I often love to cover a little bit of our hidden history. So sit back, relax yourself, get your libations, get your diet food, get your comfort food, get whatever you need to relax yourself to enjoy today's episode. All right, now I'll be right back. A tribute for the Negro being a vindication of the moral, intellectual, and religious capabilities of the colored portion of mankind. All right, this was published in 1848. I'm going over to page... All right, I'm going to start here where it says the Jews. The Jews, however, their features may have assimilated to those of other nations amongst whom they are scattered from the causes already stated, certainly form a very striking example as regards the uncertainty of perpetuity in color, descended from one stock and prohibited by the most sacred institutions, talking about God's laws, from intermarrying with the people of other nations, and yet dispersed according to the divine prediction. That's Deuteronomy 28, verse 64, the divine prediction about them being scattered into every country on the globe. This one people is marked with the colors of all: fair in Britain and Germany, brown in France and in Turkey, swarthy, that means black, in Portugal and in Spain, olive, that means brown or black. Olives come in three colors: green, brown, or black. Olive in Syria and in Chaldea. Tawny, that also means black. Tawny or copper colored in Arabia and in Egypt, whilst they are black at Congo in Africa. Wow. Talking about the Jews. Let's move over. All right, let's read this. A remarkable fact in the history of Loango in the Empire of Congo is that the country, according to a statement which was fully credited by Oldendorp, himself a writer of most correct judgment and of unimpeachable veracity, contains many Jews settled in it. Who retain their religious rights and the distinct habits which keep them isolated from other nations. Though thus separate from the African population, they are black, talking about the Jews, and resemble the other Negroes in every respect as to physical character. It is probably in allusion to this case that Pennington in his textbook says, the descendants of a colony of Jews originally from Judea settled on the coast of Africa are black. See that? Talking about the Jews, a colony of Jews originally from Judea, settled on the coast of Africa are black. This was written in 1848. Wow. A Social and Religious History of the Jews by Salo Whitmire Barron. All right, this was printed in 1973. The Jewish Publication Society of America. Well, all righty then. Let's go inside this book. I'm going over to page 265. All right, read along with me. During the last quarter of the 16th century, there were several other accusations against individuals who allegedly performed such suspicious acts as removing the sinews from certain parts of animals before eating them, cooking their food with oil rather than lard, and betraying other symptoms of Jewish infidelity, meaning Jewish unbelief. Less routine was the case of a centenarian, that means 100-year-old Negro, Pedro Alvarez. So there was this black man named Pedro Alvarez who was reported to have insisted that God had commanded all men to be circumcised. This Negro, Pedro Alvarez, was a Jew. Okay? He was a Jew. And this was in Spain. That's Iberia. All right? Let's go on, because as you read further down, it goes into the Spanish Inquisition against the Jews. It's funny how they threw in this 100-year-old Negro. And it says there was no trial because Alvarez died in prison. This was regarding the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition. All right? Let's move on. I'm going to page 354. A new impetus to seek shelter in the unexplored dark continent, the dark continent is Africa, was given to Jewish refugees from the Iberian persecutions, from the Spanish persecutions after 1391, in the area around Tendirma, some 60 miles southwest of Timbuktu. That's in Africa. Founded in 1496, Jews had allegedly lived for generations under 7 kings, each of whom had an army of 12,000 knights. Wow. Y'all see that? So you had Jews living in Africa, found in this area, founded in 1496. Remember, the persecution started here in 1391. They founded this place, Tendirma, in 1496, and they lived for generations under 7 kings, each of whom had an army of 12,000 knights. So the black Jews were the knights.
In this book, The Image of the Black in Western Art, it reveals that the black man was the knights of Europe. I know it's hard for some of you to believe, especially you black women. It's hard for you to even imagine your black man in greatness. It's hard for you to even teach your young black sons that his ancestors ruled in greatness, in royalty. We were the knights of the round table. That's right, we were King Arthur and people like that. That was our ancestors. Just take a look. I lie not. I'm not lying. I'm showing you proof. This is the evidence that they want to keep out of the school system. This is the evidence, the movie that Hollywood refuses to put on the screen. They might put a glimpse of a black man in the background with armor, but a main leading role? No, don't let the descendants of slaves realize that they ruled over us at one time, and we will do so again. Thus saith the Lord. Take a look, brothers. Take a look, sisters. We were the knights. We wore the armor. We wore the capes. That's right. That was us. That was us. And then the white man came up in power at the Vatican and began to rule. Okay? But look, just take a look. This is evidence. This is CRT, critical race theory. They said, take it out of the school in case they find out. Take it out. Take it out. Make sure they never wake up. But we, the Israelites, we're here for you, brothers and sisters. We're here for you, your sons and your daughters, to reveal the truth like it has never been revealed. Take a look.
Let's not just stop there though. Let's go down. It has been suggested by no less an authority from Friedrich Ratzel that the island of Sao Tome, that's St. Thomas, that's on the west coast of Africa, discovered by the Portuguese in 1471 and subsequently used as a place of deportation for Jews unwilling to adopt baptism. You had many of the black Jews who refused to be baptized in the Roman Catholic Church under Christianity, which was nothing but white supremacy. We recall the forcible removal of Portuguese Jewish children to that locality in 1497. So these Portuguese Jewish children were removed to the island of St. Thomas, okay? May have been instrumental in the settlement of many Jews in the neighboring West African lands. Do y'all see this? Do y'all see this? Do you understand? Let's read it again. It has been suggested by no less an authority from Friedrich Ratzel that the island of Sao Tome, St. Thomas, that's on the west coast of Africa, discovered by the Portuguese in 1471 and subsequently used as a place of deportation for Jews unwilling to adopt baptism. We recall the forcible removal of Portuguese Jewish children to that locality in 1497 may have been instrumental in the settlement of many Jews in the neighboring West African lands. Wow. Wow. All right. Look at this. These tenuous lines of investigation have been pursued mainly by anthropologists who have looked for patterns of thought and behavior reminiscent of those known among Jews and found among various African tribes and their descendants transplanted. Let me zoom in. Let me just zoom in right there a little better. Known among Jews and found among various African tribes and their descendants transplanted to the New World. The New World is the United States of America and the Caribbean islands. Okay, that's the New World. So you had Jews from among various African tribes transplanted to the New World. Okay, representative of that school of thought is Joseph J. Williams, whose work on Hebrewisms in West Africa still is a major source of information, both substantive and speculative, beginning with the study of Ashanti descendants living in Jamaica. Williams writes, this is what he writes, in the first place, many Hebrewisms were discovered in the Ashanti tribal customs. Then several Ashanti words were found to have a striking resemblance to those of equivalent Hebrew meaning. Finally, the supreme being of the Ashanti gave strong indication of being the Yahweh of the Old Testament. I was taught the pronunciation is Yahweh, but we know it's talking about the same God of the Old Testament in the Bible, of the entire Bible, as a matter of fact. Look at this. Of course, since these descendants of Ashanti tribesmen lived alongside of, sometimes in the very households of, Jamaican Jews, the origin of such contacts in the Ashanti's original African habitat can no longer be ascertained, meaning they lost that history. General History of Africa, editor B.A. Ogolt. I'm on page 67. I'm going down right here to this paragraph. Africans also settled along parts of the Malabar coast during the 17th and 18th centuries. These were black Jews. Let's read that again. Africans also settled along parts of the Malabar coast during the 17th and 18th centuries. These were black Jews, descendants of African slaves who had left Cochin and Kerala in southern India. to come and settle on that coast. Most became domestics and intermarried with local inhabitants and other Jews. What I want you to see is that the Africans who settled along Malabar were black Jews, descendants of African slaves. All right, brothers. All right, sisters. You saw it for yourself, didn't you? You saw it for yourself. That was so good. I almost got tongue-tied there. But hey, let's now take a look at the news at what former President Trump, who may soon be your next president of the United States of America, wants to bring into play in this country. Don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say I didn't warn you. Let's take a look, take a listen, and I'll be right back with my commentary.
I'm going to read from this Rolling Stones article. Trump plans to bring back firing squads, group executions, if he retakes White House. The ex-president wants to expand the use of the death penalty and expand the federal government's option for carrying out death sentences. What kind of a country do we want to be? What do you think of firing squads? That's the question Donald Trump repeatedly asked some close associates in the run-up to the 2024 presidential campaign. 3 people familiar with the situation tell Rolling Stone. It's not an idle inquiry. The former president, if reelected, is still committed to expanding the use of the federal death penalty and bringing back banned methods of execution, the sources say. He has even, one of the sources recounts, mused about televising footage of executions, including showing condemned prisoners in the final moments of their lives. This is medieval. This is gross. This is disgusting. It's reprehensible. It's violent. It is retribution for retribution's sake. It's also hypocritical that a man who claims to be the law and order guy, who's been involved in countless crimes, from obstruction of justice to insurrection against the United States, that he would say, yeah, we want the most radical punishment for people who commit crimes. The death penalty, group executions. Specifically, Trump has talked about bringing back death by firing squad, by hanging, and according to 2 of the sources, possibly even by guillotine. He has also, sources say, discussed group executions. Trump has floated these ideas while discussing planned campaign rhetoric and policy desires, as well as his disdain for President Biden's approach to crime. Listen, I don't know how many times I've talked about this particular thing that I'm getting ready to say again, that Donald Trump has to amp up the rhetoric. He has to top himself. He has to do more than he did in 2016. And when he ran for president again in 2020, he amped that up. And now that he's running again in 2024, he has to amp up what he did in 2020. It's just an escalation of cruelty, an escalation of unconstitutional, a disregard for the document and the ideas that Republicans claim to revere, they claim to stand for. In at least one instance last year, according to the third source, who has direct knowledge of the matter, Trump privately mused about the possibility of creating a flashy, government-backed video ad campaign that would accompany a federal revival of these execution methods. In Trump's vision, these videos would include footage from these new executions, if not from the exact moments of death. Quote, the ex-president believes this would help put the fear of God into violent criminals, the source said. He wanted to do some of these things when he was in office, but for whatever reason, didn't have the chance. A Trump spokesman, likely Taylor Budowich, denies Trump has mused about a video ad campaign, quote, more ridiculous and fake news from idiots who have no idea what they're talking about, the spokesman writes in an email. Either these people are fabricating lies out of thin air, or Rolling Stone is allowing themselves to be duped by these morons. Every time, I mean, listen, name a time that they denied something that ended up being that they were correct, that the denial was correct and the reporting was wrong. Name me reporting that was wrong that Donald Trump denied. I challenge you to do that. Every time they deny something as fake news, and the more aggressively that they push back on it, it just solidifies how accurate it is. Does this seem off the mark for Donald Trump? Does this seem out of character for Donald Trump? Come on.
All right, brothers. All right, sisters. You saw it for yourself. You heard it for yourself. And if you want to get the Rolling Stone magazine, you can download it. It's online. You can read it for yourself, just to verify if you want to. I know some of you are unbelievers. But anyway, beheading is not new. It's not new. It's been around for a long, long time. They just stopped it in the United States of America. But what we're going to do is go through the scriptures and take a look at what it says. Actually, beheading was not a custom in America. It was lynching, right. And what was that other one? The electric chair. They would put you in the electric chair. Then they more recently, for capital punishment, would use death by injection. Greece and Rome used beheading. So did Japan, and so did France, and so did many other European countries during the Middle Ages. All right, but what I want to do is get into the scriptures on it, and let's go to Mark 6 regarding John the Baptist. Mark chapter 6, and we are going to start at verse 17. All right. Let's see. I'll start at 17. For Herod himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. Now, when you look up Herod was an Idumean. Okay? Herod was an Idumean, meaning an Edomite, a Caucasian. So was Herodias, as well as Herod's brother Philip. So the problem here was that Herod had married Philip's wife, Herodias. Then verse 18, watch this. For John had said unto Herod, it is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. You see that? So that's adultery. You couldn't marry your brother's wife unless the brother was dead. Okay, I hope everybody understand that. You can read about that bear with me a second, in Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 5 and 6. It tells you if your brother dies and he had a wife with no children, his next of kin, his brother, had to marry her. That was God's law. Okay, so John was correcting Herod and his adulterous wife, because that's what she was, a hoe, an adulterous white woman, regarding God's law. Because Herod's whole line had adopted God's laws. They were Jewish converts. I hope everybody understands what I'm saying. They were Jewish converts, or let me word it this way. They were Edomites that converted to becoming Jewish. Jewish meaning not the original, but converts, something that pertains to. I hope everybody got that now, right? All right, so let's read verse 17 again. For Herod himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John and bound him in prison for Herodias' sake, because she was so upset. The hoe was mad. His brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. For John has said unto Herod, it is not lawful for thee to have thy brother's wife. Therefore Herodias had a quarrel against him and would have killed him, but she could not. Okay. She needed a reason. Okay. She was looking for a reason to kill John, a good reason. So now when you jump down to verse 27, let me look at it. Let me look. Right, I'll start at 27 just to get to the point. John got arrested. John did get arrested for correcting Herod and his adulterous wife. But now let's get down to verse 27. And immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head in a charger and gave it to the damsel, because the damsel was her daughter, Herodias' daughter. She danced, she did such a dance. Her name was Salome, or Solome, however you pronounce it. And the dance was so erotic, so good, Herod promised Herodias anything she wanted. Okay, promised her Salome anything she wanted. And she went and consulted with her mother. Her mother said, "You tell him you want John the Baptist's head." So that's why he had to go and cut John the Baptist's head off. Everybody got that? I hope everybody got that. Y'all with me? I just jumped around for time's sake. Okay. Bear with me a sec. We're going to go down to verse 30. Verse 28, and brought his head in a charger and gave it to the damsel, and the damsel gave it to her mother, because the mother's the one that told the damsel, the young girl, what to ask for. And when his disciples heard of it, when John's disciples heard of it, they came and took up his corpse and laid it in a tomb. And the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. You see that? So that's some crazy stuff right there. Okay. Now from there, let's go to Matthew 11 and verse 1. Let me show you the mindset of John the Baptist and what happened while he was imprisoned. Verse 1, and it came to pass when Jesus had made an end of commanding his disciples, his 12 disciples, he departed thence to teach and to preach in his cities. Verse 2, now when John had heard in the prison, remember he was in prison because of what he said to Herod and his wife Herodias, who was the wife of Philip. Verse 2, now when John had heard in the prison the works of Christ, he sent 2 of his disciples and said unto him, art thou he that should come, or do we look for another? Jesus answered and said unto them, go and show John again those things which ye do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. The lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached unto them. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. So why did Christ say that to John? Because John thought that Christ was going to deliver him out of prison and set up New Jerusalem. John thought that was the time. That's why that bottom part in verse 6, and blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me, because that was not the time to set up the kingdom. Everybody understand that? Does everyone understand that? That's why John was like, do we need to look for another? Because he knew he was going to get killed. And that's exactly what happened. John the Baptist was beheaded. Let's go to Matthew chapter 14 and verse 10. Just to reiterate. And he sent and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. Y'all see that? Y'all see what's going on here? Okay. So John got his head cut off. He got beheaded. Now, you may think that that's old time. It could never come back to America, right? Okay. One never knows. Do one. Let's go to Let's go to Revelation 6 and verse 8. And it reads, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. So death and hell that followed with him, this represents, when you read this whole chapter, it represents stages of white supremacy. Okay, stages of white supremacy. These are things that what the so-called white man will do in the earth. Watch this. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. The fourth part of the earth is the United States of America. Take a look. Here's the proof. Here's the book. You can read it. You can get the book, read it on your own. The fourth part of the earth is the United States of America. Then it reads on, to kill with sword, that means war, and with hunger, that means famine, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Death and with the beasts of the earth goes into something called zoonosis, wherein they create pesticides. Okay, the death can be anything from weaponized food.
I am the lab science director. I know a thing or two about food science. Now, what they have invented, when I say they, I'm talking about the genetic engineers, not only have they found a way to put these genetically engineered traits into food crops, they've now found a way to cause food crops to grow RNA fragments that can be specifically targeted, like bioweapons, to interfere with the physiological processes of targeted species that might eat the food. Now, this technology is called RNA interference technology. It's relatively new compared to GMOs, relatively new. It's being touted now as a technology to eliminate the use of pesticides, because what they're saying is they can cause a corn crop to grow RNA fragments that will kill the insects that eat the corn without having to use pesticides like toxic chemicals that overload the insect nervous system and kill it from nervous system breakdown and so on. This RNA interference technology is a pesticide technology, but it doesn't rely on pesticide chemicals. It relies on RNA fragments in the food. Now, what's disturbing about this is that this technology can be fine-tuned to target a specific race of humans who eat the food. I want you to follow me very carefully on this, because most people have never heard of this before. They've never heard of this technology. They don't know it can be targeted by race. Food crops can be engineered right now based on existing technology to cause infertility in black people alone. That technology is a reality. It's widely covered out there in the mainstream media, in the science media. RNA interference technology is widely covered. The government is at war with you. If you're black and you're watching this, the government is at war with you, and they want you to exterminate it, and they control the science funding, which means there will never be money for any genetic science of the food supply to uncover this truth. If it were there, it would be covered up like everything else has been covered up this entire time. Just like the Tuskegee experiments covered things up in the 1930s. Nothing has changed, except the technology is more advanced. The covert technology is more covert. The number of vectors through which they can kill you and cause you to have no children, cause you to have spontaneous abortions, the number of vectors is increasing. You are being targeted. And like I said earlier, to some extent we're all being targeted. But black people are being targeted more than anyone else.
Weon, ever heard about bioweapons that use DNA to kill specific persons? They are reality now. Let's go down. It reads, a U.S. House Intelligence Committee member cautioned that bioweapons using a target's DNA to kill only that individual are being created. Not being created, it's already created. U.S. Representative Jason Crow of Colorado spoke on Friday as the Aspen Security Forum and cautioned Americans not to be too careless about sharing their DNA with private firms due to the impending arrival of the new type of weapon. You can't target a biological weapon that will kill that person or take them off the battlefield or make them inoperable, Crow said. You can take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, he said. Given the prevalence of DNA testing services where customers voluntarily share their genetic mapping with companies to learn more about their ancestry and health. The congressman said it is concerning that these weapons are being developed, although 23andMe has maintained time and time again that it does not sell its customers' private information. It is one of many DNA companies that have done so when asked by the police. I told y'all that! I was on the police department, and we used it. All you Israelites out there telling everybody, I need y'all, you Israelites, listen good. I'm talking about you Africa only Israelites. You dumber than an ass and a rock. I told y'all, stop telling people they have to find their DNA. You got to be E1B1 to be an Israelite. So you got to go to these DNA companies and get your ancestry checked. Y'all are dumb as hell. That's not in the Bible. And like I've always maintained, I've challenged you Israelites time and time again. What scripture says we got to use the white man's science, his technology, to prove that we're the Israelites? Where is that in the Bible? It ain't in there. That's why I think some of you are agents. Some of you Israelites, you black-only Israelites, I believe a lot of you are agents. You preach and teach unbiblical things. You have to get your ancestry checked. You got to be E1B1 to be an Israelite. You men and women know who you are. You know who you are. Toxic spills, pollutions in the air, the water, the fish, the foods that we eat.
I think this is an unfortunate reminder about how, how sort of on a knife's edge we are when you're talking about safety and railroads.
These are all the various things, the Fauci juice.
After tackling Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins in the first quarter, Hamlin stood up briefly and then unexplicably collapsed. During his Good Morning America interview with Michael Strahan, Hamlin's 9-second silence following the question about what doctors told him was unmistakable. The conversation took an eerie turn as viewers wondered why he hesitated to respond and whether or not he was purposely avoiding a direct answer. Watch.
From the ICU, the question on so many minds, what caused his heart to stop beating?
You're 24, peak physical condition, can run circles around me right now. How did doctors describe what happened to you?
That's something I want to stay away from.
I know from my experience at the NFL, they do more tests than anything. And in the course of you having your physical, did anybody ever come back with any, say you had a heart issue or anything that was abnormal?
Honestly, no. I've always been a healthy, young, fit, energetic, human being, let alone athlete. So it was something that was just, that we still processing, and I'm still talking through with my doctors just to see what everything is.
Although we can only speculate his reason for not answering right away, it's clear that with such a spotlight on him and such an important topic at hand, it's necessary for Hamlin to provide an explanation while the eyes of the world are upon him. Whatever happened to him could either be a warning sign to others or may even save lives if he speaks out, regardless of if it was related or unrelated to the controversial vaccine. Silence in the situation implies complicity, no matter what the truth may be.
Okay, let's read down to verse 11. And when they had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? Verse 11, and white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So the rest of the Israelite prophets and saints, a remnant needs to be slain, killed, beheaded. Okay, I hope y'all understand that. Now, watch this. Let's go over to 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, and verse 18. Watch what it says. Actually, let's start at verse 17. Then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things, meaning the kingdom, but that the ungodly should perish. Nevertheless, here's the point, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things, meaning we're going to go through tribulation, and hope for wide, meaning we're going to hope for the kingdom, New Jerusalem on earth. Oh, and we're going to get it. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things. Watch this. Well, let's read that again. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wise. So our people shall suffer tribulation as a whole, righteous and unrighteous, good and bad. But the wicked Let's read that part again. For they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight things, meaning tribulation, and yet shall not see the wide, meaning shall not see the coming kingdom. Okay? Let's read down. And he said unto me, there is no judge above God, and none that hath understanding above the highest. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them. So that explains why the wicked of our people will not receive New Jerusalem on earth, because they despise the law of God. Verse 21, for God hath given straight commandments to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. You see that? Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him. That's the rebellious Israelites of our people, but spake against him and imagined vain things. Like, for example, they imagined Jesus is white, God is white. Kumbaya, okay? We could all races united as one race. Oh, come on now, come on, dog. Verse 23, and deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High that he is not, and knew not his ways. Okay, but his law have they despised and denied his covenants. In his statutes have they not been faithful and have not performed his works. I hope y'all see that. I hope y'all see that, what's going on. These are prophecies of what is to come. From there, I want y'all to take a look at some of the straight things. I want you to look at the train derailments with spilling toxic chemicals.
Derailed Friday, 20 of them carrying hazardous materials as flames lit up the sky in northeastern Ohio.
The evacuation order is in place for anyone within a mile radius of the crash site.
These aren't storm clouds. This is the fucking shit! The fucking shit they burn off in East Palestine! This is not fucking storm clouds! Look at it!
I got arrested because I was trying to do a live report about what people need to know.
Officials are claiming that the air and water are safe. Residents say they can still smell chlorine. They've complained about their eyes watering when they go outside, and one woman says the noxious air killed her chickens.
Look at all these fucking crows. I'm not kidding. This is within 10 miles of East Palestine.
Unevacuated, please leave the area.
Hey family, I hope everybody's having a blessed morning. I'm gonna say my little piece here on these derails. I operated a shuttle wagon and worked with rail cars for over 6 years, and I know a lot about them. I just think it's weird that 3 derails have happened in America in the past 2 weeks, and not little derails. What you got to understand is the derail that happened in Ohio, 50 rail cars came off the tracks. The derail that happened in South Carolina that just happened, 25 rail cars came off the tracks. The derail that just happened in Texas, 15 rail cars came off the tracks. That's not a little derail. That is major derails. Now, the one that happened in Ohio, what you have to understand about chemical rail cars is you got 2 different types of chemical rail cars. You got the tankers and you got the box styles. The tankers, the chemical comes out, they unload it from the top. The box styles, they unload those from the bottom. Those chemical rail cars are anywhere from 40 to 60 feet long. They hold anywhere from 15 to 30,000 gallons of chemicals. Do you know how many gallons of chemicals that is potentially in the Ohio River? You have 50 rail cars derail. Let's just say 40 of them flipped over and the chemical came out. You've got potentially almost 1 million gallons of chemicals that is in our atmosphere and in our river system. And the reason I'm making this is, please share this. We need answers. I have family in West Virginia. That Ohio River goes down to West Virginia. I have family all over. I have family in Ohio. Please share this. I know y'all have family all over the United States. This is major, and we need answers. We need answers from Norfolk Southern Rail Company. We need answers from the environmentalists that are doing studies right now. I seen that newsman get locked up the other day, and he's trying to speak the truth. We have a lot going on, y'all. Make sure you put Jesus first. I just think it's weird, too. I'm going to say this before I get off here. In North Carolina last night, there's a major fire in Raleigh, North Carolina. And guess what was burning? Railroad ties. Railroad ties was burning in North Carolina last night. Listen, right now, there's nothing more important than to put your salvation first and to put Jesus Christ first. There's a lot going on in this world. There's a lot going on in this nation. Put God first. I hope y'all have a blessed day. God bless.
And I want you to look at our people that suffer heart attacks. Healthy brothers from that Fauci juice. All right, brothers, let's go over to Matthew chapter 10. Brothers and sisters, we go into Matthew chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 16. This is what Christ said. Behold, I send you forth. He's saying this to the teachers, to the prophets. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Meaning we're not to go out and try to hurt and harm anyone. We must be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Okay? I hope everybody sees that. Watch this. Verse 17. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. So that, you know what that's talking about? That's going into these black preachers and their white counterparts and these Jewish converts. Let's read that again. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them, against the wicked Israelites and the Gentiles. That's the other nations. Y'all see that? Let's read on. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak. For it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And a brother shall deliver up the brother to death, because some of your brothers will not believe this truth. And the father the child, some of your fathers don't believe this truth, and they will deliver you up to be persecuted. And the child shall rise up against their parents. Some of your children don't believe this truth, and cause them to be put to death. Do y'all see that right there? Do y'all see that right there? And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. This is why the ADL and the SPLC is doing a mass movement to change laws and legislations so that teaching the Bible, the truth that we bring out, is now considered hate speech. We will soon be arrested, imprisoned, persecuted, questioned, tortured, and killed. This is the prophecy of thus saith the Lord. Okay, from there, let's go to Revelation chapter 20. And let's read verse 4. As the kingdom is about to come. Watch this, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus, and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, meaning that's the white man, America, neither his image, his white image of Jesus, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads. We rejected their sin in all forms, whether it's politics or religion. We reject it. Or in their hands, we don't support it. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. Y'all see that? The righteous, the elect, that make it through this coming tribulation shall reign with Christ. That's the 144. 1,000 years. Verse 5. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. What does that mean? Those rebellious Israelites that we were reading about in 2nd Ezra 7, verse 18, Matthew 10, those wicked Israelites will not live again until the 1,000 years is over. The 1,000-year reign with the righteous Israelites shall be over, and then they shall come back. When you jump down to verse 11, I'm not reading it on today's lesson, but that's when they come back into play. Okay? I hope everybody understands that. So with that, you know what I want to do? Let's just read it. Let's read it when they come back, when the wicked Israelites come back. Verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Meaning when the Father comes, all creation shuts down. Nobody got nothing to say. Verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. So every soul that ever lived upon the earth shall come and stand before the Most High. And the books were open. There's books on every last one of us. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. That's the Bible. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. Everyone will be judged according to God's law, and whether you obeyed or whether you did not. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. So you brothers and sisters that died in the sea, you're going to be brought back up. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. Brothers and sisters in the earth going to be brought up. And they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Woo! That's some heavy stuff right there, brothers and sisters. That's some heavy stuff. All right. So with that, let's get to the reading of the shout out letters and donation. I'll go into detail on what we just read during the Sabbath lessons. Y'all watch the Sabbath shows, okay? Shout out Tuesday, I give abbreviated breakdowns. On the Sabbath, we give more details, all right? So let's get to the reading of the shout out letters and donations, shall we?
Attention Israel! Subscribe to our new YouTube page, IUIC Events 2, for Shout Out Tuesday, exclusive videos, and backup content. Remember, our enemies want to stop this truth, so subscribe here to stay aware. Our content is also readily available on IUIC TV. The time is short, Israel. Subscribe now.
All right, let's get to the reading of the shout-out letters. This first letter reads, Shalom, Bishop Nathaniel, how are you? Well, I'm okay, thank you. I hope your lovely wife and kids are doing okay. They're doing okay, thank you. I want to thank you for teaching the truth to your people. We all have love and respect for you. All praises, smiley face. I'm 60 years old and I attend the Seattle Tacoma School. All praises to the Most High, all praises. I believe that's Officer Ari out there. I do like when you speak about the woman. I don't take offense. It just helped me to examine myself. And truthfully, I know that we know how we are. However, you just keep bringing it out. We need that. I feel I'm a revolutionary woman. I know it's not an easy walk. I want to make this journey. Here are some alms, donations. Most High in Christ bless. Pray for me that I keep the faith and endure. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I will. I've been watching all the classes on Genesis as a kid. I just didn't believe a snake talking and just two people. All praises for the breakdown. Love you, Sister Deborah. Thank you, Sister Deborah. All praises to the Lord. All you sisters hear what she said? All praises. All right, the next one says, keep it short, keep up the good work. Use as needed. Books for... What is that? It's Our Hidden History. This is from Mr. Gunny. Thank you, Mr. Gunny. I'll make sure that they get that. All praises. The next one is from the Jersey Jew. Shalom, Bishop. Most High in Christ bless you and family. It's the Jersey Jew. I'm learning a lot. I send like I always do. Much love, peace, and blessings to 12 Tribes. Shalom. Thank you, Jersey Jew. All praises. The next one reads, thank you for your teaching. I have truly been edified and informed about many things concerning the history of the Bible, which I did not know, nor was never taught in all my 33 years in the Christian church. I will be supporting your ministry as often as I can. Thank you once again, and stay strong in the faith. May God bless you always in my prayer. May E.W. of Glendale Heights, Illinois. Thank you, May. Thank you, Sister May. All praises. All right, the next one reads, Shalom, Bishop Nathaniel, Most High, in the name of Christ, bless you and your house. My prayers go out to you, Bishop, and to all the other bishops, deacons, captains, officers, and soldiers that put their lives on the line to push this truth throughout the four corners of this earth. Thank you. Thank you all so much. All praises to the Most High for this truth. Keep up the good work, because as we continue to rise, they continue to fall. All praises. I wanted to keep it short, but here is a little something for the Booster Club. Lord's will, I hope to do and send more in the future. I also wanted to ask you to keep me in your prayers to continue to overcome and to fight, to never give up, never give in. Take care, sir. From Sister Yafa Ashan, all praises. Yes, Sister Yafa Ashan, definitely will keep you in the prayers. I have my prayer list right here. All praises. Shalom, Bishop. All praise to the Most High God for what he has allowed you and IUIC to accomplish in waking up our people scattered across the globe. Praying for your continued health and safety as you and the brothers travel. Most High in Christ bless you and your house. From your brother, Joshua K. Shalom. Thank you, Brother Joshua. All praises. All right, the next one is a card that reads, thank you. It says, Dear Bishop Nathaniel, we appreciate IUIC and the many lessons on getting back to the truth of what the Most High God would have us to be. We have been in the truth for a few years now and have sent alms before. If you could please let us know that you have received our gift to help spread the gospel, we would appreciate it. Sincerely, Danny and Yolanda W. P.S. Okay, you put that way at the bottom. It's okay to read on Shout Out Tuesday. Way at the bottom. Y'all got to put this at the top. Okay, with all praises. I'll reach out to Deacon Joshua. I'm pretty sure we have. If you sent it through PayPal, that's the easiest way to make sure there's also a record of what you send. Make sure that if y'all send money orders, make sure you keep the receipt. Okay, and your checkbook should have a receipt of all that you send. All right, all praises. All right, the next one reads, to Bishop, I enjoy Shout Out Tuesday. Please accept the alms to be used wherever it might be needed. I am a new converted Christian who was in the church for a long time, who too have been misled and not discovering my true heritage. I enjoy the online classes. I pray that God continue to use you. God continue to use you for his work, which continues to be a battle for many. Shalom, Bishop Geneva H. Thank you, Geneva. That's Sister Geneva. Thank you so much. All right, the next one says, Dear Bishop Nathaniel, just writing, you hoping that you are feeling a lot better, sir. My favorite Bible verse is Ecclesiasticus chapter 4, verse 28. Strive for the truth unto death. You got that right. And the Lord shall fight for thee. Bishop, the Lord will fight for you and me. Love your little brother. Sincerely yours, Joel Ben I. All praises of the Detroit camp from Michigan. All praises. That shout out to Joel and the Detroit camp. That's Captain Ezra. All praises, all praises. The next one reads, to Bishop Nathaniel and all leadership. I love IOC and look forward to visiting and or joining your organization soon, if the Lord will. I wish I could donate much more, but I will start with the Booster Club. May the Most High continue to give you all health and strength, and may the Lord's angels continue to encamp around you. With an abundance of love, Sister Hadassah. Thank you, Sister Hadassah. All praises, all praises. All right, the next letter reads, it says, Bishop Nathaniel, my name is Raleigh M. Raleigh M. I've been listening to you for 4 months, and I haven't even heard the great Geno Jennings speak on the 12 tribes of Israel like IUIC. God bless y'all and teach in the tribes the way Christian churches don't, especially men of 1950 and back that lied to me. I'm 58. I pray IUIC continues the preaching of the truth of God and especially his 12 tribes of Israel. God bless us all. Raleigh M. Thank you, Raleigh. Hey, these Christian pastors don't know about the 12 tribes. We try to sit down and talk with them to bring us all on one accord, but they fight. They want that grant money from the government. They can't get. Christ said, what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? I guess Geno Jennings doesn't know about that. All right. But he's our brother. We love him. We pray for him. All right. The next letter reads, Dear Bishop Nathaniel, this is my second letter to you. And I know you read so many. You may not remember, but keep praying for me and my family. My marriage issues, pray that God will help us get over the shame we have and start congregating. Please don't read my name out loud in case this letter makes it to Shout Out Tuesday. All right, I got that part. I also ask about my granddaughter's issues. She is only 4 and still misbehaving at school due to lack of discipline on parents' fault. My husband and his oldest son relationship is strained. Pray they reconcile and that we get built up in this truth. Yes, I will definitely pray for your household. Definitely. Lord have mercy. All right. We want to give a shout out of thanks to Deborah A. All praises. Deborah A. again. Now, I don't know if it's Deborah or Deborah. Deborah A. again. You correct me, sis, if I'm mispronouncing it. Shout out of thanks to Jackson E. Jackson E, thank you. A shout out of thanks to Diva A. Now, I don't know if it's Deva or Diva. You got D-E-V-A. I'm assuming Deva. Okay, shout out of thanks to you. Shout out of thanks to Kenneth G. Shout out of thanks to Kenneth G again. Kenneth G again. All praises, Kenneth G one more time. Shout out of thanks to Danny L.P. Shout out of thanks to Darda D. Shout out of thanks to D. Scully. All praises, D. Scully again. D. Scully again. And Alfonso R. Thank you so much. Shout out of thanks to the Jersey Jew. Shout out of thanks to Constance P. of Birmingham, Alabama. Shout out of thanks to May W. Thank you, May. Shout out of thanks to Carlton K. Shout out of thanks to Zipporah O.I. of Kankakee, Illinois. Shout out of thanks to Jill L. of Fort Worth, Texas. Shout out of thanks to Diva A again. Thank you so much.
Shout out of thanks to Mary G.I. of Memphis, Tennessee. Shout out of thanks to Malachi W. Shout out of thanks to Pamela D.J. All praises. Shout out of thanks to Joshua K. All praises. Shout out to Yolanda W. Shout out of thanks to... all right, this one says not to read your name out loud. All right. Shout out of thanks to Geneva H. Shout out of thanks to Sheila K. and Jada R. Shout out of thanks to Joel B.I. or praises of the Detroit camp. Shout out of thanks to B. Willis. Thank you, B. Willis. Shout out of thanks to Zanice L. Shout out of thanks to Sister Hadessa. Shout out of thanks to Lillian W. Shout out of thanks to Maxine S. of Bloomfield, Connecticut. Shout out of thanks to Raleigh M. Jr. All praises. Shout out of thanks to Leslie C.S. Shout out of thanks to Harolyn C. That's right, Harolyn C. Thank you so much. Shout out of thanks to the company Brooks C. Shout out of thanks to Charlie H. Shout out of thanks to Charles M. Shout out of thanks, it's a business. Today's F of Northport, Florida. All praises, brothers and sisters. You know I love to say, let's all of us stay healthy. Let's stay faithful. Let's stay focused. But most of all, let's all of us stay in the spirit. Most High in Christ bless you all. Love you. Shalom.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation